Hello and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at some incident that happened yesterday on Christmas Eve, and I'm going to be evaluating whether or not self-defense is going to be a successful argument, my opinion on the matter, but I am not trying to tell you what to think. There are a lot of other YouTubers that are going to do that. It is just my goal to provide information that you should consider when you are thinking about this yourself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. At this point, I'm sure we've all already seen the footage, so I'm just going to go ahead and show the relevant part on 2x speed. So we do have this individual who is alleged to have been stalking Clavicular and other streamers for some time. He throws water on Clavicular's back. This is from the same day. These two incidents are from the same day, but that is not from Christmas Eve day. It would seem by the different outfits and as well as the different haircut. So this seems to have been going on over a long period of time. Now this is from the day of the incident in question. Clavicular is wearing this white shirt with this beige trim, and this gentleman here is wearing that black sweater with the silver stripe on it, and we're going to see that again later. So we know now we are looking at Christmas Eve day, and we are in Miami. So Miami is going to be important because that means we're in Florida, and Florida has its own stand your ground laws, castle doctrine, and so there actually is probably not a better state or venue that Clavicular could have been in for this situation if you are his defense attorney. Alright, so now here is the relevant part in question. We have an individual and he is on the hood of the car screaming. We can see his hand has a phone in it. We cannot see the other hand, but even when you listen to this with audio, we don't hear anything about him having a weapon or threats to commit violence that I'm aware of, just from these short clips I've seen. I have not done the deepest of dives. It is Christmas Day. I want to spend it with my family and not be too fixated on this, but I do want to add something to the conversation on self-defense. So again, just let's go ahead and look at the stand your ground laws. So this is an article relevant to Florida state law. Stand your ground laws, if you do not know, they're going to extend the boundaries of where a person can defend themselves to outside of the home to any place where a person has a legal right to be. That is going to include your truck or your car, your automobile. So 2005, Florida built on this castle doctrine by enacting a law that introduced stand your ground provisions, which means there's no duty to retreat when you're in a place that you have a right to be, which means a person has a right to use deadly force if in self-defense, and that person has no duty to retreat. All right, so person, and here the Florida law is excerpted here, no duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground and use or threaten to use non-deadly force in the first situation, or deadly force, and this is what's relevant here because obviously using a vehicle, a cyber truck is going to fall into the category of deadly force. This is allowed if he or she reasonably believes that using or threatening the use of such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or to prevent the imminent commission of a forcible felony. Okay, so this is the relevant part. We're going to have to put ourselves in the minds of reasonable men and women who are going to make up this jury if this incident is going to go to trial. And this is going to be the defense that Clavicular will articulate. I would imagine the prosecutor could play on the fact that these cyber trucks are bulletproof. They're, well, at least they were marketed as such. We know there are limits to that. But, you know, here's a video. I don't know if you remember when the Cybertruck was first coming out, a lot of talk about how they're bulletproof, and that's so cool. And that's really going to work against Clavicular here in this case, where he is in what amounts to be, if I'm the prosecutor, I'm going to argue, is a bulletproof vehicle. He's in a fortress, and this individual poses no threat to him. And this individual here is, you know, of course being crazy, but the other thing that's really interesting here is Clavicular, as he's attempting to drive, it would appear to me that this individual is, you know, obviously on the passenger side, but where we see Clavicular steering the car, and here it would be helpful to be on 1x speed, it seems he's driving into the direction that the individual is. Yeah, so we see that light kind of moving over there. It looks like he is turning towards the passenger side, which is where that individual is. Alternatively, turning away would make it more likely the person glances off, but I think this increases the likelihood you're trying to run them over or you're going for them. And so there's a lot of avenues the prosecutors could pursue here. But this self-defense argument, again, when you're in this car, I don't think you have a very strong argument unless it is to come out that this person has brandished a firearm or has made threats of violence. But even then, it's going to come down to whether the jury thinks this is a reasonable response and if this level of force he responded with is commensurate to the threat. So if they have a firearm, then your truck could be commensurate. But if they have no weapons, there's no way you're going to be able to successfully, well, I don't want to say no way, but it's unlikely you're going to be able to successfully argue that, I matched their level of force. If someone threatens to punch you, you don't necessarily get to pull out a gun and shoot them. But again, we don't know all the facts. Not everything is out yet, but this is interesting nonetheless. The other thing I wanted to take a look at was this line here where after the incident is done.
Is he dead? Hopefully.
And again, I really think the prosecutors have a lot of breadth here with the case, a lot of different ways they can pursue it. When you have someone on camera saying, is he dead? Hopefully, after they have assumedly just ran over the individual. And again, I've seen a lot of people online talk about this is just extra context. This is other examples of this individual showing up. I believe it's called stream sniping, showing up where people are streaming, stalking, showing up to their houses. Here's another. I don't think this is Clavicular, but I'm not sure who this is, holding a gun at the person, scaring them off. And so, this person has a history of stalking, presumably, or allegedly. And so, yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. But you have to remember the recourse for this, if someone is stalking you or making you feel uncomfortable, you get to call the cops, and that's about it lawfully. You don't get to run them over with your car. And so I see people thinking, well, he ran over this guy who's stalking him. Okay, but in that moment, is he fearing for his life? Would a reasonable person believe they have to do that to save their own life? And so there, I think, is going to be the difficult part, and I don't think this is going to be that successful of an argument. And maybe there will be a plea deal, most likely, that he's able to take, but it would seem to me like this individual will be going to jail. And so, yeah, I hope this was helpful. And again, I do want to say cases like this are tragic for all, mostly so for the person who got ran over. But in an instance like this, it would seem like this person wanted attention, and now they've gotten more attention than they probably bargained for, and it's probably come at the cost of either their life or their health. And for Clavicular, it seems as though this individual was encouraged by the people in the car to do something that he's probably going to regret for the rest of his life. And the Twitch audience and the Kick audience at large also contributed, to them feeling like they have to act or react to what's going on instead of staying calm and calling the police like they should have while they're sitting in what amounts to be a bulletproof truck. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I've provided you information to consider when you're thinking about this. And again, I don't want to get too much into the politics of this or the personalities. I know these people have fan bases and personalities, and I'm not really interested in all that. But I hope it was helpful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Christmas, and take care.